Just 3 days ago, the developers showed us a new teaser of the amazing digital circus. And no, it's not the sleeping Pomni, but it's a brand new teaser, which is most likely related to the release of Episode 2 of the amazing digital circus. In this video, I will definitely tell you all about it, as well as show you some characters that will most likely be related to the next episodes, and one of the most important things, I will tell you about the trailer for the second episode. Also, somewhere in the video, I hid a picture of Pomni, and anyone who finds it will get the secret information about the second episode from me in the comments. I'll start with the trailer for the second episode of the amazing digital circus. What if I told you there won't be one? Maybe the developers will release the second episode right away, and before that, they'll secretly announce it to us. If you look at the Murder Drawn series, the same glitch company, the first episode, that is, the pilot of this series, was released on October 30th, 2021, and the second episode was released a whole year later on November 19th, 2022. And a month before the release of the second episode, they showed the trailer for the first season of Murder Drawns. This could mean that the same could be true with the amazing digital circus. But the second episode will definitely be released earlier, I think sometime in the next month or 2 months, because the developers promised us to release it in early 2024. So what about the trailer? I think that it can be released quietly after the release of the second episode, or a week before the release. Right now, the developers need to prepare the audience so that the second episode doesn't turn out to be a flop. Although we are all looking forward to it, some of us may forget or not recognize that the second episode is out. And the developers have already started to prepare us. During the last month, we have already received at least 2 teasers. The first teaser is a sleeping Pomni, and the second teaser I will show you in this video. Also, don't forget that developers give interviews and make posts on Twitter quite often. For example, Gooseworks herself is constantly responding to fans and taking apart some concept art related to the amazing digital circus. Also, on the example of Murder Drawns, I can tell you information about the next episodes of the amazing digital circus. The third episode of this series was released 2 to 3 months after the second episode, and the fourth episode 1-2 months later. But we should not forget that at that time Glitch Company was not as rich as it is now, so they needed more time to develop new episodes. And since the amazing digital circus was the peak of popularity, it raised a lot of money, so it should take less time to create new episodes. Perhaps at the moment the developers are preparing to release the entire series at once, so as not to make us wait a few months for a new series, because the authors need to keep the audience for the series so that it will not be a failure in the future. Next, it's worth talking about cutout characters, as they also play a certain significance. For example, a picture of a character that looks like Kane has become popular recently. A lot of YouTubers have theories, but I came up with my own. So many people say that Pain, yes, that's his name, was an early concept of Kane, or that he is Kane's brother in general. But I believe that is not the case. If you look at Pain, he has ears and a nose instead of a mouth and eyes. He has a different head than Kane, even though he has the same costume. Yes, and if we look at the early character concepts, we see everyone along with Kane in the look he was presented to us in the first episode. But there is no Pain in the character concepts. Perhaps Pain is an art drawing, but perhaps he will be added to the amazing digital circus. For example, as I've said in my other videos, Kane is the head of the circus and possibly the main villain. And to escape the circus, the characters will need to break Kane. After that, that's when Pain might show up. Judging by his name, he's a very violent character. And if the characters manage to deal with Kane, it's going to be more complicated with Pain. He may be Kaney's replacement and will only come out to the circus at the most dangerous situation. Most likely he will create the most dangerous situations and be much worse than Kane. That's why the characters that will be at the exit road have to all work together. That's why no one has been able to escape the circus alone yet, because there will be great danger of losing. And as I said earlier, Pomni didn't just get into the amazing digital circus for no reason. I found an interesting deciphering of her name, and it turns out the word out, which tells us that Pomni is the key to the exit. Well, if you look at the teaser for the first episode, we were not shown Kane's face there, but we all saw the costume. So I can assume that the developers may well have created a doppelganger of Kane, but we don't know that yet. Well, now, let's get to the breakdown of the second teaser. 3 days ago, an interesting image appeared on the official Glitch channel in the Community tab, where Ragatha, Jax, and Pomni are standing, as well as the developers put us the message, "Keep your hands off digital circus." So what could this possibly mean, and why was this message left? I believe it literally means that we have waited with you for episode 2. As we were told by the developers earlier, The second episode will be released in early 2024, which is, I think, before the end of winter. January has already passed, and only February is left. And as you can see, in January we got a lot of information just about the second episode of the amazing digital circus. And by the end of January, more and more information was added, which means that most likely the second episode will be released in February. It's almost as if this phrase is telling us that just a little bit more, and Glitch will publish the second episode. Plus, based on the photo, we see 3 of our most favorite and popular characters, and they're all happily dancing in front of us. It looks very much like Cain told them to do this task for us, by the way. Regatha always sees the positive, so she stands the most satisfied. Pomni is as usual bewildered and doesn't know what's going on. And Jax, with his usual facial expressions, tells us that he didn't want to do this mission. Based on this picture, I have a theory that these 3 characters will be the main ones in the whole season. Accordingly, if you believe my theory that Regatha is abstracted next may be wrong. However, we haven't seen the second episode yet and can't draw any conclusions yet. Perhaps Regatha abstracts in some other episode because her condition is slowly starting to get misleading. But let's not talk about the plot of the second episode in this video. I'd like to analyze this post in more detail. I get the question of where did the other characters go and why did they choose Regatha, Pomni, and Jax in particular? If you remember the New Year's post from the developers, there were all the characters of the amazing digital circus. Perhaps the new episode will be about any of those featured in the new teaser. There's already been an episode about Pomni. Accordingly, the plot of the second episode may be based either on Regatha, and she can really abstract. Or it may be about Jax, but it's more complicated. Could the number of characters mean something? And I think that yes, maybe the number 3 will be related to the release date of the second episode, and maybe to the month. But I still think that the second episode will be released in February, which means the second month after the new year, but it can also be counted as the 3rd month of winter. It's also worth noting that Glitch may have purposely posted this teaser on their YouTube channel rather than on their website to test viewer engagement and infer who is waiting for the second episode. This post has garnered over 200,000 likes in 3 days, as well as many comments. This will only motivate Glitch to release the second episode sooner. But I also have a theory about when the pilot from the amazing digital circus gathers 250 million views, that's when the second episode will be released. What theories do you have about the new teaser, and what do you think about the message the developers have left us? Be sure to write your opinion in the comments, and don't forget to include the time I left the Pomni picture. Don't forget to give this video a like and subscribe to my channel. Good luck to everyone and bye-bye.